Yeah.
You want to like him, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. You straight gangsters over here.
Straight
man.
gangsters.
Ah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful Wednesday night, and you are listening to Scout Team After Dark. We're bringing it to you hot and live like we do each and every Wednesday night, 7:30 to 9 o'clock on 12-ounce Sports Radio. And if you don't catch it live, you can always catch the podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and our website, scoutteamradio.com. I am one of your gracious hosts. They call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
Yes, and all of that is true. And the man right next to me on the other microphone is the great patriot himself. He's more patriotic than I don't even know what.
Yeah, it's your boy, Chris America, coming to you live this January 16th, 2019. We are in the Scout Team studios right now. We are also live on Twitter. Check us out at Scout Team Radio. We got the UCF National Champion banner. We have Loudbeard, and we are missing one of our comrades, the Golden Ghost.
His bag is right there. We found his bag.
Yeah, the Golden Ghost turnover bag, FSU turnover bag is here. The turnover bag is loud and in charge tonight, and we are having some good times here in the Scout Team studios. Loudbeard, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, Wednesday nights after dark, one of my favorite times of the year or week, whatever that may be. So I'm always excited to be on the air with you, Chris America. We did our morning show this morning, and now we get to do the little bit of the after dark, have a little bit more fun with it, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to having a little bit of a good time on our radio show tonight. We have a special guest coming on at the 8 o'clock hour. I'm excited to have on Mr. Scott, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this, which, you know what? That's what I do. But Scott San Emeterio, CEO of Ball Street Trading. Looking forward to having that guy on with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get to hear all about his special app. It's like a twist to the good old fantasy sports apps that we're used to. You've got daily fantasy and you've got regular fantasy, but this is different. This is like the Wall Street version of fantasy sports. He's going to tell us all about it. It'll be a lot of fun. Also, we've got just a ton of news stories to dive into. Jalen Hurts, he found a home.
He found a home.
That's a big deal, my friend. He is going over to Oklahoma. He said,
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plains. Oklahoma, where the waving wheat can sure smell sweet with the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma every night, my honey lamb and I, we sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is grand. And when we say,
hey,
yay, we're singing, you're doing fine, Oklahoma, 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 Oklahoma.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly impressed.
I was in that play in high school. That's why I know that song so well.
Are you sure it wasn't like the gentleman's play for the like, I don't know.
It was Cats.
Okay, good. Perfect. I thought so. So I was going to say Jalen Hurts, he wants to walk in the footsteps of the great men that came before him, like Kyler Murray, like Baker Mayfield, like all of the great Oklahoma quarterbacks that came before him. So congratulations to Jalen Hurts for making a decision, going with it, finding a good team to go with. Tiger Watch 2019 is about to begin, Chris America. Tiger Woods announces that he will be playing in his first tournament of the year. It is going to be coming up, Farmers Insurance Open. We'll dive into our Tiger predictions. will he win a Masters or a Grand Slam or a whatever? Will he win one? I don't know.
I think so, man. I think.
Save it for the show. We're just doing the beginning, the intro.
Oh, this isn't the show?
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Is this the show before the show?
This is the show before the show about the show.
Does that mean I have
being
to?
a show?
Does that mean I have to sing Oklahoma over again?
Tampa Bay Lightning
Yes.
dominating right
Dominating.
now. We'll get into that. Manny Machado gets an offer from the White Sox, as it's reported, 7 years, $175 million, but his agent refutes those claims. Will Foles be a superstar quarterback on another team, or is he a system guy? I don't know, Chris America. These are questions that I need answered, and this is what we're going to get into. But let's start off first talking about Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
How do you feel about this move over to Oklahoma? Do you think this is a good move for Jalen Hurts?
This is a fantastic move for Jalen Hurts. He could not have picked a better situation for him. Loudbeard, where have the last 2 Heisman Trophy winners come from?
I would say the answer to that question would have to be Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. They're 2 for 2 with Lincoln Riley as their head coach. He's had 2 years of head coaching. He has 2 Heisman Trophy winners at quarterback. So it makes a lot of sense for anybody, really, but especially a guy like Jalen Hurts, who has a fairly strong game. Everybody knows that he's better at running than throwing the ball. So what do you want to do if you need help at throwing the ball?
You go see Lincoln Riley.
You go see Lincoln Riley. You go see a coach who can help teach you, help put you in a system that throws the ball a lot, that gets you comfortable with that. And this not only helps out his Heisman hopes, but it helps up his NFL draft hopes, because we saw Baker Mayfield go number 1 overall. Kyler Murray gets to decide between the NFL draft or MLB baseball right now, so he's got a lot going for him. Why wouldn't Jalen Hurts want to go play for that guy?
I love the decision. I like it a lot more after Brandon Wimbush had already committed to UCF, so now I can't feel like, oh, he slighted UCF, because I don't really care, because UCF already had got their guy. I do like this move, though, because that Oklahoma offense is an electric offense. Lincoln Riley is an amazing coach, and Jalen Hurts can go in there and be that next guy up. After we saw Baker Mayfield left, Kyler Murray was the next guy up. Kyler Murray leaves. Now Jalen Hurts can be that next guy up. And Oklahoma is going to be in that conversation. They're going to be in that national spotlight. And with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, they're going to be ranked very high on that preseason poll that really doesn't mean anything, but really does mean something to some, Power 5 homers.
Bringing back up to Lincoln Riley, it was funny because November and a little bit through December, a lot of people pegged him to be jumping to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he was the hot name. He was the hot ticket. And for all of these bad coaching hires that we saw, I don't blame these teams for looking at Lincoln Riley, but I think Lincoln Riley was committed to staying at Oklahoma.
Yeah, he was committed to staying at Oklahoma, and it was funny that we had the swerve because we were really high on the best coach in Big 12 football, at least because he won 2 Big 12 championship, and it was one of the worst coaches in Cliff Kingsbury that ended up being the one hired by the NFL and became the hot name a few weeks ago when he's interviewing for the Jets and then taking a job with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you're bringing up the Kingsbury thing again.
I'm just saying that it's just funny how
good.
there's like
it's a good point.
How the media or just how fast sports changes, because from November through the end of December, it was just, oh man, where's Lincoln Riley going to go? Is he going to go to the Cleveland Browns? Is he going to go to the New York Jets? And then out of nowhere, it's just like, oh, by the way, here's Cliff Kingsbury, who's fired at the end of November, hired as the OC at USC. He's not going to be the Arizona head coach. Life comes at you fast in the sports world, man.
Yeah, it is amazing how these things change and where these guys go and how quickly they move around. But I like the fact that Lincoln Riley, he said it at the very beginning when his name was getting rolled around there for all around the NFL as one of those hot coaching candidates. He came out and said, he's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in Oklahoma. And he put his foot down, and you never really quite heard anything else about it. It wasn't a hesitation. There wasn't any maybes. He didn't leave an open door. He basically shut that door, put it to bed, and nobody ever really made a big deal about Lincoln Riley becoming a head coach in the NFL again. Now, it'll come back up next season.
Of course. It will for the rest of his career.
Yeah, until he goes and takes that
and
shot.
takes the NFL job.
And then if he pulls like a Nick Saban, goes, sucks somewhere, goes back to another program, nobody will ever ask him to go to the NFL again.
No, which is weird. I think Nick Saban probably could make a better run at it this time, kind of like what Pete Carroll did. Now, Loudbeard, there was another story about the coaching carousel that kind of came out a couple of days ago, and the national media has been getting on Jerry Jones, and for once, I don't think it's a fair criticism of him. He said on his radio show that if Jason Garrett were to
Same guy.
been fired, if he were to have been fired, he would have had 5 jobs waiting for him to take. And people laughed at him. They're like, oh, no way Jason Garrett would get 5 head coaching offers. And I think that's a terrible take. Have they seen the coaches that have been hired this offseason? Jason Garrett is no worse than any of the guys that were hired. He's no worse than Adam Gase. He's no worse than Cliff Kingsbury. He's no worse than
Matt LaFleur
or Kitchens at Cleveland. Like, at least, to Garrett's credit, has he won a playoff game? He's won 1.
Yeah.
Does
Better
he take,
than 0.
Does he take the Cowboys to the playoffs every year? No.
No.
But
not
he's
so much.
won his division a few times, at least a couple that I know of. And he's consistently got a decent team.
They've been competitive.
Right.
We'll have to give them that.
So
And
comparing that to a college coach that has 3 losing seasons, Adam Gase that kind of just lucked out his first year at Miami, and they had just an easy schedule to run through to where they made it to the wild card, and then they got smoked in the playoffs and then did absolutely nothing after that. And then, like we said, Matt LaFleur, Pepe LaFleur, very unproven commodity, not even that great of an OC at Tennessee. And then Kitchens just became an OC like 2 months ago.
Yeah, the Kitchens hire, I'm still baffled by for Cleveland. I loved Greg Williams, but Greg Williams has landed somewhere else.
Yes, he did.
He is now on the Jets,
Jets.
And I am excited about this. I don't usually like the Jets, but all of a sudden I'm kind of rooting for the Jets. Now, on a side note, I was going to put the sound clip up, but the sound clip would not have given it justice, so I just need to describe it.
Do you want me to?
No.
Let's do the sound clip.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't upload it?
Yeah. So I do have another sound clip we're going to talk about later on, but it's about being a man.
Well,
that sound clip. Though.
We had some Twitter viewers on our live feed. We're going to go off the live feed for now. We had some Twitter viewers, but as soon as I showed the turnover bag, people were like, I'm out.
Oh, they all shut down.
Yeah, they're like, oh, man, we're going to talk about FSU. I'm out of here.
Yeah,
so
that's what
peace
happens.
out there, Twitter feed people. We had 16 total viewers, so that was cool.
We'll take that. Especially with it when it's impromptu. We don't tell anybody. We just throw it.
We just throw it up there,
Mm-hmm.
man, just to see what happens.
Yeah, and 16 out of the blue. People, it'll get more. It'll get more views as we go. So, what I was gonna say is that Adam Gase had his opening press conference to the New York media, and if you watch the video, which I don't know if you've had an opportunity to or not, I'll describe it for you. I mean,
yes.
he looks like his eyes are like bulging out of his head, and he looks around and he looks paranoid, and it's just a weird look. And when he was answering the questions, he felt like unsure of himself, and he was real kind of quiet and hesitating. And basically, the New York media, they do what they do, and they ripped him apart after this opening press conference. Bad start for new Jets head coach Adam Gase. Hopefully, he can coach better than he does press conferences.
Yeah, you almost felt concerned for the guy.
Like, are you
Like
on drugs?
you wanted to make fun of him, and you did make fun of him, but part of you was like, is this guy like tripping on balls? Like, is he like on acid? Is there something wrong with him mentally? Like, what is going on? And then the best video I saw was they played the Titanic song by Celine Dion.
Yep, my
and
favorite.
They had a
Heart
taco.
will go on.
Yeah, they had a taco flying around the screen, and he was following the taco with his bug eyes. It was hilarious. I'll have to show it to you, but
Dude, that is the
oh,
best.
it was one of the best things. Like, me and the kids, we cracked up over that.
Yeah, that press conference, I was watching it. It was hard to watch. I mean, like, you're sitting there, you're like, oh, what's he doing? And his eyes, like, he didn't look like a normal person. He looked like an alien almost.
What are you telling yourself if you're a Jets fan?
Like, oh boy,
Like
we're in for it again.
You've been in mediocrity for. I honestly cannot remember the last time I thought the Jets were really good.
Well, it was when Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan
Negative.
took them to the AFC Championship.
I mean,
That defense,
they were good.
That defense was good. They went to, 3 AFC
Right.
Championship games?
Something like that.
Lost all of them to New England. Never made it over that hump and fell off after that. That was a really good team, but that was, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Since then, total
Since then,
mediocrity.
I'm sitting here thinking about the Chad Pennington era.
Oh, before that, yeah, that was Chad Pennington.
It was okay, but never once were you like, oh man, the Jets are a Super Bowl contender. And even when the Jets were going to the AFC Championship game, nobody was like, that's my Super Bowl favorite right there. I totally got Mark Sanchez and the Jets.
That is true. You never did. Now, they did have that one pretty good season with Ryan Fitzpatrick until he blew it at the very end.
Yeah. There was that.
And then, Luke McCown, he was
Luke
terrible.
McCown.
Yep. Not Josh. I think it was Luke. Maybe it was Josh.
Well, Ladbeard,
Twins.
we're talking about the Chad Pennington era, the Mark Sanchez era of the Jets. I put out a tweet on our Scout Team Radio, at Scout Team Radio on Twitter, and I wanted to know what everybody's best era was for their favorite teams, for the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, college football, and college basketball. So I think we can start off. We have the same teams together with the Orlando Magic.
Yep.
Hands down, Shaq and Penny.
Yep. Shaq and Penny, that 94 season, when they go to the finals up against the Rockets, those are memories that will last forever. The second, and you're talking about an era, we're talking the Shaq Penny days. The second one for the Magic is when the Dwight Howard, the late 2000s.
Because there's only two eras that were truly great.
And
There
those
was
eras were both very short. That was
Right.
the other problem. It was
Yeah.
like a 3 to 4 year stint, and then like a 3 to 4 year stint where you're like, yes, I believe in the Magic.
Right.
And they made it to the finals, both of those stints, and both of those stints had a center diva that left to go to L.A. And it just didn't end well for our Orlando Magic. You're bringing me down now, Chris America. You're just...
No, I'm trying to bring you up, man.
Okay,
I'm trying to
bring
think
me
about
back up.
good
I'm getting
times.
back
Don't
up.
think about the
Get back
bad
up.
times. Think about how fun that era was.
I'm really
now,
thinking about Celine Dion right about now.
Yeah. So what was the Redskins era? It had to be that early 90s, right?
Yeah, well, and the problem is when they were good in the 80s, which they were good for a majority of the 80s, won 2 Super Bowls in the 80s. I was too young to really appreciate that for what it was. I was alive, but I was a youngster. So early 90s, that was the era that I recognize as being one of my favorite. And that's team that won the Super Bowl. It had Art Monk, who's a Hall of Famer. It had Mark Rippon, Ernest Biner. It had a nasty defense. There was just a ton of big names on this team that I remember being a lot of fun to watch. And to me, that is the era for the Redskins that I miss the most, and I wish that would come back. But I would say that fans that are older than I am probably appreciate that 80s era. They had that magical season where Doug Williams won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's something that would go down in history. I believe it was 87. And then they had that Theismann Super Bowl earlier in the 80s. So there was some good times there for the Redskins. But since then, it has been few and far between, kind of like with my Orlando Magic.
Right. So Joe Gibbs was the head coach for all of those, right?
Yes.
So you just lump it in as the Joe Gibbs era.
Yeah.
Or the first Joe Gibbs era.
The only coach to win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks.
That's a very awesome stat.
It is, because, Belichick, he's winning all these Super Bowls, but he's always had Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You change up the quarterback, and a lot of times these coaches struggle. Not that Belichick would, because we believe he's one of the best ever.
Right, but we don't know if he would have won 5 Super Bowls, gone to 8 without the greatest of all time.
Right.
He might have gone to 4 Super Bowls and won 2.
Could have been a different story.
Could have been a different story, but we digress. For me, as a Carolina Panthers fan, I think it definitely has to be the Cam Newton era. I think we won like 3 or 4 division titles. We went to a Super Bowl. I know you want to talk about John Fox, but John Fox was just too, with Jake Delhomme as quarterback, it was just too up and down. There was the highest of highs and the very lowest of lows when it came to John Fox.
Del homie. I
Jake-
like that guy.
Jake, I remember when during NFL prime time afterwards, they used to be like, Jake Taylor, come and you want a Delhomme.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know what just made me. Probably because I said Jake. I know that the best era for the Arizona Cardinals was the Kurt Warner era, but I used to love the Jake Plummer era of the Arizona Cardinals.
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake.
Wow.
I don't know what it was about that guy. I know he wasn't great, but I used to just, anytime they were on and Jake Plummer was there, I don't know why. I just thought he was a fun quarterback to watch.
Yeah, he was an interesting dude. Wasn't he the one that got traded to Tampa Bay and then retired?
Something like that.
He was like, I'm not playing for John Gruden. John Gruden's like, I love quarterbacks. Give me another quarterback.
Give me another one.
They're like, we'll bring Jake Plummer
Are you
in.
washed up?
And
You're
he-
mine.
And Jake Plummer's like, peace. I'm
Peace, I'm
out. I'm not doing this. I have no interest whatsoever to play for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I don't want to go to Tampa. I don't want to live there. I don't like the coach. I don't want anything to do with you guys. And Tampa says, all right, we'll still trade for you.
We'll still trade for you.
And they're like, well, we hope that he changes his mind.
You'll change your mind when you see the awesome pirate ship.
All right, so you saw we got a tweet in.
No, what do we got?
All right, so this is some fangirl putting out here that hands down the Detroit Red Wings in the late 90s and early 2000s. I don't think there's been one with the Lions. Early 90s with Sanders was fun, though.
No, the Barry Sanders era is definitely
Oh.
as good as it gets for the last 60, 70 years. I'm sure in the 50s when they won their last title or something, I think they won like the 55 title, but nobody was around for that. But Barry Sanders era, definitely the best for the Detroit Lions. Although, it's not great, but this Matt Stafford era has been better than most other eras in Detroit Lions history.
The only problem with the Matt Stafford era is it hasn't been as good because if it was good, they wouldn't turn over like 3 to 4 different coaches in
Right.
Matt Stafford's era. Like, if a quarterback can't keep a coach, he's not that good of a quarterback.
And he had Megatron
well, that's when
for
he
a
was.
good portion of his career.
That's when he was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
When he had Megatron, it was like, okay, Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford. That is something fun to watch.
Like,
That's
it's a
what we want
huge
to get
step
into.
down going from Megatron to Golden Tate and like Galladay.
Kenny
Just a
Galladay.
huge- yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, that Red Wings era though that she mentioned, the late 90s, it just felt like every time I turned on Sports Center, the hockey highlights were just surrounded around the Detroit Red Wings and the Colorado Avalanche too. That was a huge rivalry back then, but I think didn't they win like 4 or 5 like Stanley Cups in like 10 years or something like that? And then they won their last one, I want to say like 07, 08.
Yeah.
And they recently just ended like a 25-year streak of making the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been a good team in hockey. I will say that I don't watch hockey as religiously, so I don't remember a lot of it.
No.
But I had a friend in the early 90s that, I went to school with that was a huge Detroit fan. He was from Michigan, and I remember him always talking about it, and he was always kind of, rubbing it in. At the time, the Lightning weren't that good.
No, they weren't.
They were terrible. And so I was local. I lived in Tampa. I liked the Lightning, and he was a big Red Wings fan, so I got to hear that trash. We also had a pretty good rivalry with the Lions and the Redskins. Not the teams per se, but just being able to say whose team's better. And at that same time as when Barry Sanders was playing for the Lions. So it was rough. Detroit had a good little kick there in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good to be a Detroit fan at that time. Tigers had a good team. They had Alan Trammell and
Yep.
a couple Cecil Fielder, fun guys. So, like, Detroit sports in the early 90s, I don't know what happens to it
Early
since.
90s or late 90s? Well, the Red Wings was kind of mid to late.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it was that 25-year run that ended like 3 years ago. So I guess that started in the early 90s.
Yeah, I think it was all early 90s because Yzerman,
Yeah, Steve Yzerman played
Yeah.
hockey for like 50 years.
he was there early.
I feel like
And
he was always
good.
in there.
He was
And
so good.
Now I think he's the GM of the Lightning.
Yeah, which is funny.
It is funny.
And
And that's why we're so good.
that's right. That guy is magic.
So since we're on hockey, you're a Washington Nationals fan. So no, not Nationals,
Capitals?
the Capitals, sorry. So the Ovechkin era has to be the best, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just the Stanley Cup this past year was something that will live forever in the history of the Washington Capitals.
Because that was the first Washington championship since the 92 Redskins.
Yeah, I'm thinking back. I mean, there hasn't been anything.
The Bullets /
Yeah,
Wizards
No, there's
didn't
nothing
win
there.
any.
No.
The
And
Nationals just got there. What were they?
And they've never
weren't they
won.
the Montreal Expo
they were
before?
the Montreal Expos.
Oh man, those uniforms. They were something else, man. If there's a uniform that personified the 80s, it was that Montreal Expo
That cool
uniform.
bluish color.
Yeah, with the little
like swoosh
stripes and the
thing.
swoosh and the letter.
Oh.
Like the letters were just that 80s graphic
Yeah.
type design.
Yeah, they went from the
Oh.
80s to the 90s and never
They
changed.
never changed.
No.
Probably why they don't stay in Montreal anymore.
Yep. But you're right. Washington hadn't had a title in a long time. It's embarrassing when I think about it. Because it's a major sports town with major sports programs that haven't been able to get over the hump.
There's a lot of cities like that. Detroit.
Yeah.
They had the Pistons.
But in 04 was
And
last time they won?
Yeah, and then the Red Wings. So I guess no, I can't say Detroit because they, like I said, the Red Wings and the Pistons have won several in the last 20
Well,
years.
you know, the best example is Cleveland.
Well, there's Cleveland.
I mean, because LeBron had to break the 50-year
Yeah.
drought or whatever.
Yeah, that is true.
That hurts.
Trying to think of what other city has been really bad at championships. Houston used to until the Astros won it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because the Texans have never done anything. The Oilers.
Kansas City's another one. The Royals just won one, but I think their last one was like the late 80s, right?
Yep. Well, they won one with George Brett, and that was
And
late 80s.
It's crazy to
actually
think that
mid-80s.
how old and historic and just when you think of NFL, like I do think of the Chiefs as one of those storied programs, but this is the first time they're going to host an AFC Championship game,
It's
which
sad,
is insane
man.
to think.
It's sad. I actually would like to see the Chiefs win it all.
I do.
No, everybody out there that is not a New England fan wants to see the Patriots lose. So the Chiefs have the world on their side.
Yes.
And then on the NFC side, I'd love to see Drew Brees win because I think he's a classy guy and a great player. But I do kind of say, like, Saints have already won one with him. Like, it wouldn't kill me if he didn't win another one.
I think the only thing making people not root, like if Andy Reid wasn't there, I think people would be rooting overall for the Saints because they think, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff, they're young guys. They have the rest of their careers ahead of them. Let me see Drew Brees win one more. But I think a lot of people want to see Andy Reid finally get that title. I think the NFL needs a coach like that to get that title because guys like Andy Reid don't exist anymore.
No.
The guys that just are so good at winning and make it to the playoffs year in, year out and just can't get over that hump, but you still keep him around because that's what he does for you. He gets you to the playoffs. He wins a couple of playoff games, but then he loses. But again, we have to realize there's only one championship that gets handed out every year. And if one guy is the GOAT in Bill Belichick, it's really hard for anybody else to win it.
Yeah. It's kind of like we talked about it on this morning's show about how maybe it was yesterday morning show.
Yeah, whatever.
The Michael Jordan era, how it hurt Charles Barkley and Karl Malone
John
and all these guys.
Stockton, Muggsy Bogues,
Think of how many-
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, think of how many coaches have been hurt by this Belichick era. Think of Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan went to 3 AFC championship games in a row, and we still never thought he had a chance. And he couldn't get over that hump. And then he basically got washed out after that. I mean, so many coaches. Tony Dungy for the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, he struggled to get that
Well, look at what
championship.
happened to him in Tampa.
Yes.
Tampa
All right,
was.
I'm going to put you on
All right,
hold here for 1 second.
we got our caller calling in.
Hey, Scott, how's it going, sir?
Oh, did he hang up? Nope, you didn't answer? Or is that somebody else?
Hey, Scott, how's it going, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. This is Loudbeard, and I have right with me Chris America. How you doing today? We're glad that you were able to come onto the show. Chris, why don't you introduce yourself, my friend?
I think you just introduced me, man.
I
So
know,
why don't
I
you
know.
introduce our guest? Tell him what he's all about.
All right, so we've got Scott from Ball Street Trading on the line. Right, Scott?
That is exactly right.
All right. Go ahead.
We are, I was going to say, no, we are a new app that are launching out for these NFL playoffs. That is a real-time prediction market that's letting fans day trade the games they are watching live. So there's no more taking a position before the game. Our platform will let you actually buy and sell shares of whatever team you want, whenever you want.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. I was looking at the website a little bit before you came onto the show today, and I like the idea that it's kind of different. It's like an alternative to what the normal, I guess, the daily fantasy, it seems like all of that's getting so saturated in the market, and it's getting a little bit kind of boring. And so having an alternative to that is a great idea out in the market. And I think this weekend for the NFC Championship, I'm going to give it a shot and see what it's all about. So as a consumer, if this is my first time doing it, what do I have to expect, or what do I have to look forward to if I'm doing it this weekend for the NFC Championship games?
Yeah, sure. So you want to check out our website, ballstreettrading.com. You can look a little bit about what the app is, give you some of the background on how you want to use it, and then it'll give you links to take you to actually get into the exchange itself. For the NFC Championship game, obviously we have the Rams at the Saints. That market is already open for pre-market trading. So we're a prediction market. Our markets trade from 0 to 100 based on the win probability of that actual game. So we've IPO'd that market. I believe the Saints are trading around 57 and the Rams are trading around 43. So that effectively is telling us that the market expects the Saints to win 57% of the time and the Rams to win 43% of the time. As we get closer to kickoff, more players will begin buying and selling shares based on who they think is going to win the actual game, and those prices will begin to move. Once kickoff happens, that market will be fully open and players will be able to buy and sell basically whenever they want. The market is always open. So if Drew Brees gets the ball first and marches right down the field, you can expect that price to go up. If they get into the end zone, you might want to think about selling some of those shares and then going on buying the LA Rams as they look to get the ball back and march down the field. So for us, we're all about really creating that total control for the player. We're trying to live in that world that sits between sports betting and fantasy sports. We want to be able to give players control over all of their decisions and make them a part of the game itself.
So let's walk back to last weekend then, so I can kind of understand this concept. To the Eagles Saints game last week, the Eagles jump up 14-0 really quick, right?
Yep.
So I don't even know what the numbers are, but I'm going to say, let's just say that the Saints shares were at 20 points or $20, whatever it is. And I buy, do I buy like 15 shares, 100 shares, like however much I want at that 20 price?
So using that example, actually, because the Saints have been such favorites all year, the market actually continued to trade them north of $50 last weekend.
Even when they were down 14-0?
Even when they were down 14-0.
Wow. Okay.
So it's really interesting when the strategy comes into really at what point are you going to say that Nick Foles and the Eagles are for real, even though they scored 2 touchdowns on their first 2 drives, and you're now going to think that the Saints are going to lose at home. So all of that perception plays into the strategy. How we have the game set up, it's set up as a tournament. So when you enter each of these games this weekend, you'll be given virtual currency and you'll also be given shares of each team. So we give you a portfolio to basically trade as those games are playing. At the end of the game, those players with the best P&L, the best trading score, will be deemed the winners. So it isn't a game to pick the winner. It's a game to out-trade every other fan as you're watching the game. We like to think of it almost as a competitive Twitter.
Okay. I think I kind of got it. Sorry, I'm a little slow. I'm trying to think of it as like I buy it at 20, and then the Saints come back and win it, and it ends at like 85, and so I gained, 65 points or something like that. Am I in the ballpark of understanding that right?
You certainly could do that. So the markets trade from 0 to 100. So if you bought Saint shares at 50 or at your 20 example, and they actually won the game, you would then be able to cash them in at 100, and all those points would go towards your P&L at the end of the contest.
Okay, I got you.
So your goal is simply to buy low and sell high. So
right.
As the teams have the ball and they're driving down the field, more than likely more people will think that they're likely to score, so that price will trend up, and it's up to you to decide whether you think that you want to sell those shares to then take that virtual currency and potentially buy shares in the other team, because now they have the ball and they're going to have an opportunity to go down the field.
I got you. So I guess a better example would have been maybe the Falcons versus the Patriots Super Bowl when they were down 28-3. I got to imagine towards the end of the third quarter, the Patriots shares had to have been extremely low in that scenario.
At the low of the market at $2. So if players were then just sort of saying, you know what, I got nothing to lose here.
I love my Tom Brady. I'm a Patriots fan. I'm going to park my car and bet on the Patriots. I don't ever back down.
Exactly. Ride or die with them. Let's buy them at 2. And next thing you know, they're trading at 20 and you've 10x'd your score. And next thing you know, they win the game and it's over. You're at the top of the leaderboard.
Nice. Okay, so I think I got it now. So there's not just picking the winner. It's kind of knowing when to buy and sell during the game as well. So you got to be kind of on top of things. It's not like a daily fantasy league where you just pick your players, set it, and forget it kind of thing.
No, we want you to be fully engaged. We want you to be part of the story of the game. So if you're able to pick off that, the Rams are down 6 at the 2-minute warning with the ball back, are you a buyer of the Rams offense or are you a buyer of the Saints defense?
Gotcha.
All right, and so I'm kind of going to ask where this idea came from. Now, I saw on the website that you were an investment banker for a long time, so I'm sure that you were involved quite a bit with the markets, and I'm sure that's where the idea sparked from. But can you tell us when this idea came to you and kind of that whole process of getting this going and getting your app off the ground?
Yeah, sure. So, my background is in investment banking for the past 15 years almost. So a lot of the market components and the format itself certainly go back to my time on the investment banking side of things. But sort of, I think the seeds for all of this back in the day, I used to play a lot of online poker. And what I loved about online poker was I felt I had control when I was betting, folding, or whatever I was actually doing. So I needed to figure out a way on how I could do the same thing, but involve sports, because part of what I don't like about betting sports is you put the bet before the game and you're just sort of stuck waiting for everyone else to perform and figure out if you won or lost. By creating the exchange this way, it allows me to be a player and lets my decisions actually create my outcomes. So it's a derivative, at least in my brain on some level, of poker, with all the different strategies that come along with that, with a little bit of sports betting mixed in, a little bit of fantasy mixed in, and that's where we sort of get this creation of these tournament-style prediction markets that we're running on Ball Street.
So I have to assume that injuries come into play with this as well.
Sure.
So, like, if Tom Brady gets injured, I got to imagine that affects the market greatly.
Absolutely. If Brady goes down early, you can certainly see a lot of people getting out of the Patriots. I remember a number of weeks ago when Mark Sanchez came into the game, you saw the Redskins shares just
there a way
dumping.
I know you said that it's 0 is the floor, but I feel like it's got to go -50 if Sanchez comes into the game.
There were no buyers.
Oh, that hurts a little bit.
That hurts. Loudbeard is a Redskins fan.
I am a Redskins fan.
We're pouring salt into his wounds right now.
Now, Scott, what team are you a fan of?
I'm in New York, so I am unfortunately a Jets fan.
Oh, we were just talking about the Jets.
Okay, so this is perfect because we were talking about the Adam Gase press conference, and we asked, like, what are you thinking if you're watching this as a Jets fan? So now that we have a Jets fan on the line, what are you thinking when you see your coach kind of bug-eyed and looks like he's tripping on something?
Disoriented?
Yeah.
I'm also a Mets fan, so at this point, I think I'm almost desensitized to a lot of this stuff. It could never get worse than what it was last week, and somehow we continue to find new lows.
Wow. Now, I was excited
at
to
least
see
you got Tim Tebow.
Yeah, Tim. Unbelievable. Now, there's always a Tim Tebow reference. This guy over here, Chris America, has been a lifelong Gators fan, so he's excited about the Mets. I will say that I did go see the St. Lucie Mets with Tim Tebow down here in Florida. We're in the Orlando area, and they played the Kissimmee Fire Frogs, but that's a whole different story altogether. So with the app, if I go in there, what other sports can I play other than football? What other sports are you have set up now that players can go in and trade on?
Yep. So right now we have markets for obviously the conference championship games. We're going to do the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to roll over and start hosting NBA games for February. In March, we're going to look to do the NCAA tournament. Once April turns over, we're going to bring in some PGA with the Masters as our kickoff. Some of the other things we're hoping to do is we'd like to do some non-sports as well. One of the things we're throwing around is potentially a Game of Thrones market, who will ultimately sit in the Iron Throne at the end of the season. So we're going to open up markets, and players will be able to trade those characters throughout the entire season.
That's a good idea.
So if you're going with the Game of Thrones, I mean, you got to go with the Royal Rumble at some point too, don't you?
Oh, it's WWE.
WWE, yeah, man. Why not? Let's get some John Cena shares going on out there.
For us to put a market up is we're just limited by our creativity and the demand that players want to have these types of markets. So putting WWE up or even The Bachelor is as easy as us just figuring out who and how they want to play it.
Right. So there's got to be that demand. Okay, so the biggest, I guess, online gambling news story last year was the Supreme Court ruling allowing states to decide, whether or not they want to have gambling or not on sports. How did that affect you, or did it not affect you at all because it's not a gambling site? What's the difference between gambling and trading, and how you fit into that sort of gray area?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's just about getting in front of the conversation, where I think a lot of people assume we're a sports betting app or assume we're a fantasy app, and we really like to sort of define ourselves as neither of those. As far as when they pulled PASPA down, our idea was that this should open up a lot of innovation in the industry, and we think that our app is innovative in a sense that we've had sports betting for 50 years, but there has been literally nothing new and exciting about sports betting in the last 50 years. So what we hope to have is a little more creativity in the industry, where they'll be able to take chances on platforms like us to be able to introduce this to players who want to actually be a part of the games and engage in the games with total control, as opposed to the DFS player, who's certainly very involved in all this stuff, but they're locking their lineups and they're maybe even not even watching the game. Our platform is something that will bring everyone together and let them basically compete in real time. I think that when we think about sports betting in the next, let's call it 5 years, I think the future is certainly going to be in real time. I think the future is going to be in some sort of matched bet clearinghouse format, where maybe the NBA would match all bettors who are going to bet on NBA games, and you're going to remove the need for a sports book to sit in the middle of the buyer and the seller of the Lakers total for that particular night. Gotcha. I think we're in that path now. The DOJ announcement with the Wire Act yesterday or 2 days ago comes out, and that sort of throws a wrench in all of this. So I think once we pass all of the regulatory or the legislative issues, obviously the political issues, we'll be able to get on track to where sports betting will go in the next decade, and I think it will look nothing like it does today.
Yeah, and I definitely think just allowing that freedom among states, allowing more markets to be created and more creative guys like yourself in New York, able to finally create your own business in New York. You don't have to move to Las Vegas or to Atlantic City to try to come up with your own business now. I think that's what's also going to help create more diversity in the type of gambling and type of online betting experiences you can have. Now, if you said this already, I apologize, but how long have you guys been operating?
We've been running our newest markets for most of this NFL season, but we've had different iterations of our market up for the past 2 years. Okay. So we've been slowly evolving this market concept to really try to perfect it in a way that makes it simple and approachable for the everyday fan, because we don't want this to be a trading app that only the Wall Street professional wants to be on, but we want it to be the casual fan who will be able to come in and say, you know what, I think that the Rams are coming back from 10 points down with 5 minutes left, and I'm going to get involved and I'm going to start trading this because I think that big run is going to happen. And, I'm reading this game better than everyone else.
Nice. I like it. So you guys are about 2 years old, you said. When are we going to see you on Shark Tank?
My friends keep asking me the same question. Trust me, I'd love the opportunity to get out there and get some of those Cuban dollars.
And yeah, well, that was going to be my follow-up question. If you guys go on Shark Tank, you're going to have to put on the app which shark we can, buy shares in as to who you're going to do a deal with.
That would be unbelievable.
And
we could have it up there. I was think to myself, we could have them trade some sort of market as we're up there pitching.
Now, would you go in there being like, I want Mark Cuban as my guy, or would you be a little bit open-minded to some of the other sharks on there? Like maybe you can get some FUBU action from Damon Williams. What is his name? Just Damon Williams?
Damon something, but I mean, O'Leary's is a big finance guy too, so I think he could probably be very helpful.
That's true.
Yeah, he might like it. He might like the finance side of it, kind of bringing the two
absolutely.
worlds together.
That's true.
Yeah, so I mean, our goal right now is simply to get this in front of people, get as many players as we can on it to sort of get some of that feedback and then look to sort of build that brand out there, because one of the other things that we have is that this is all real time. So when the game goes into timeout or there's an inning break or there's an injury, we're able then to introduce potential messaging from advertisers or anyone who wants to potentially sponsor some of these contests, because we'll know exactly who the players are, where they are, and how they want to, interact with the different games that we have up on the platform.
Yeah, no, I like the idea that it's real time, because I think we've all been there on the fantasy football side where you have your quarterback go in and he gets injured in like the first 5 minutes of the game, and you're like, that's it, my whole week's done because of one player getting hurt in that first 5 minutes. And like you said, you set your lineups or you set your players ahead of time, and once that's done, there's no going back and fixing it. But with the trading, it's interactive. While the game's going on, you can buy, you can sell, and you can make some adjustments. And the guy that makes the best adjustments is typically the one that gets out on top, or the player that makes the best adjustments. So for me, that's intriguing, because there's been some times where, you put money down on the Chargers and you think that they're going to go into Foxborough and give Tom Brady heck, and the Patriots score 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, and you realize, okay, I'm done. That money's gone. You can't make any adjustments.
Yeah,
I said, I'm a Jets fan, and I can't tell you how many times I'm like an idiot betting on the Jets, and it's 14-0, 2 possessions in. I'm like, I'm just turning this game off. This is my Sunday, like you said, is ruined.
Yeah, and like you said, when you even with not just daily fantasy, but you lock in on a line. Like you start off on a betting line. It starts off at the beginning of the week -5, and then it moves throughout the whole weekend. But you're stuck with that ticket, no matter what happens. And then once the game starts, then you're really done. Like everybody's locked in, and like we said, like Tom Brady goes down, that changes the whole outcome of the game.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And the thing, too, is this is all peer source. Like our pricing doesn't come in from any third parties. It's simply the net of the buyers and sellers for that specific time period. So we have small time blocks every 30 seconds, which will create a new price. So if there are more buyers in the market, the price will go up. If there are more sellers in the market, the price will go down. So it's literally you competing against only other players in the market. So there's really a competitive aspect to all of this that, we hope feeds the ego and lets literally people sit on their couch, watch the game and say, watch this, I think this is going to happen. And now you have a way to action that and outperform everybody else.
I really think the most fun sport to do this with has to be basketball, because basketball, more than any other sport, is a sport of runs where you watch
NBA, everybody goes on a run.
Like you watch a team go on an 18-2 run for the last 5 minutes, and it would be fun watching the market fluctuate. And then the other team goes on like a 25-7 run. And I think it would really test your merit in this type of strategy, is watching an NBA game where, like hockey and football, scoring doesn't happen as often, and you don't really see too many teams go on a run like you do in basketball.
No, exactly. That's why it'll be interesting this weekend, especially that NFC game in the Dome. We could really see a back and forth game, which would be awesome for the market.
So
a lot of fun as you see that thing trade from 30 up to 70 back and forth.
Now, you say this is going to be a fun game this weekend. What is your prediction? Are you going with Drew Brees and the Saints? You think this is their opportunity to make it back to the Super Bowl? Or do you think Sean McVay leading that Los Angeles Rams team, are they too tough for the Saints? What do you think the outcome will be of this game this weekend?
I will caveat this by saying I'm clearly missing something, because I think the Saints -3.5 is free money.
Free money for the Rams or free money for the Saints?
For the Saints at home. I think that the Saints, you saw the worst Saints team you'll see this playoffs last week against Philly, and I think they are going to regroup themselves, and they're going to put up 40 this weekend and run through that Rams team.
So you don't think the Rams losing to the Saints earlier is going to motivate them anymore to want to kind of get one back on them?
No, I think the Saints have been this good all year, and there's no reason to deny them now at home.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun game to watch either way.
Oh, I think it's going to be a great game. Yeah, no, I think that compared then to the AFC game, I think that line is such a perfect line, because I could go either way on that. I think the thing I can't get out of my head is, am I really going to take a rookie quarterback against Bill Belichick?
Oh man, but it's my boy Patrick Mahomes, man.
Yeah, he's great. Listen, I'm rooting for KC, but that's like as someone who wants to take a little action on the game, that's the question I'd have to get over before betting on KC.
Just remember, a lot of people just remember, a lot of people said that about Nick Foles in the Super Bowl too.
That's
like,
true.
do I really want to bet on Nick Foles against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick?
No, that's fair. So I mean, but if I'm trading on Ball Street, especially in that AFC game, I'm letting that game play out, especially in that cold weather. Let's watch the first quarter first, and then I'll figure out which team I think is playing a little bit better.
Now, one last question: did you guys run the national championship game between Clemson and Alabama?
We did not. We did not run
Okay, 'cause
college football.
that would have been another interesting to watch because I have to assume Alabama traded really high at the beginning of that game, and I just would love to have seen how long it took Alabama to just crash.
Oh, I was watching those first couple of possessions saying, wow, we really should have run this game because all those back and forth
Yeah.
scores and possessions was awesome. And then finally Clemson makes its run. And I was thinking to myself the same thing, is like, how much support does Alabama really have here? And at what point do you sort of see everyone give up on Alabama and just start buying Clemson and watch that market gap?
Because I don't know if you watch Twitter at all or if you hang out there at all, but just seeing how long people held on to hope, like, oh, this is Alabama, you can never count them out. And you're kind of watching the game, you're like, no, I think Alabama's done. I don't
down
think
for the count.
I don't think they have it in them to come back. Just Clemson is fully on the throttle and they're not letting up. So, yeah, I think it would have been an interesting game to watch because so many people have so much confidence in Nick Saban and Alabama, and for tons of good reasons. But it would have been interesting to see all the people that bought Clemson early come out as huge winners.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing has happened the last couple of weeks with the Saints, where people buy the Saints and they don't want to sell the Saints. Last week was a good example, like we were saying at the beginning, how, the Eagles were up 14-0, but people were not selling the Saints under 50.
And they were smart.
They were smart.
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
week, at least.
Well, exactly. I'm very curious now to see you have a better team and you have a real explosive offense. If they get up to 14-0 or 21-0, where exactly that Saints support finds itself. Is that at 25, which is effectively 4-1, or is that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, and I think this product is great for those who aren't fans of any of the teams left. If you don't really have much of a rooting interest, Nick Foles driving the ball towards the end of that game, if you got shares on the Eagles, man, you're just as heartbroken as an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
And if you got
yeah.
shares on the Saints, you're losing your mind when Alshon Jeffrey tips that ball up.
Exactly. You're either trying to dump those Eagle shares as quickly as you can, or you're just a mess on the floor because all of your potential bets on the Eagles fell apart.
How fast is it? Just based on your internet connection? But how fast can I sell a share? Like, if I see the ball get tipped, can I start dumping my Eagle shares before it gets intercepted?
Yes, you can.
Oh, nice. Because sometimes those tips just hang out in the air for a long time.
It'll float, but yeah, the market is always open, so you can get in there and buy and sell literally whenever and however you want.
That's really awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show. I think it's a fun app. I think Loudbeard and I are definitely going to jump on, and we hope our listeners do too.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming on, and it
No,
was
thank you,
nice
guys.
talking with you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night, and good luck this weekend.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank
Have
you.
a great night.
All right, that was a pretty cool interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed having him on.
I think it's a cool idea. I'm not really one for gambling so much, but yeah, I think I can get into something like that.
Yeah, because again, it's you can make adjustments throughout the game, and it's just kind of a neat, just different way of looking at that kind of fantasy world. Like he said, it's not really fantasy and it's not really betting. It's kind of an in-between, but it kind of takes that stock market feel to it. I liked it. I think it's cool. I'd love to give it a shot.
It's definitely one of those things where if you don't like gambling but you want to invest, but you have no idea what this company out of New Jersey is going to do that sells, rubber stamps, maybe you don't want to day trade that. But you do know a lot about the Saints and the Giants and the Browns, and you have a good feel for sports, and you're ready to day trade some of that stuff. I think that's a good investment point. But Loudbeard, I think we should take a quick commercial break.
That sounds like a good idea. Let me just queue up our commercials here because it does take a moment to do that. It's not on demand like you like to have things, like our podcast per se.
Our podcast is on demand. You can go to our podcast at scoutteamradio.com, or you can go to iTunes, Spotify, Podbean. What else are we on?
We're everywhere.
Are we on Napster? LimeWire?
LimeWire.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. "12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst."
Scout Team listeners and friends of the show, I've got something special for you. It looks like 12-ounce sports radio has done it again. We have partnered with Rally House. You just go to the website 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner on the right side of the page, and it will take you directly to Rally House. Rally House has some of the greatest, most unique sports items for that diehard fan, casual fan, and anybody and everybody out there that is special in your life. So go ahead and check it out. Once again, go to that website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner to the right of the page, and you will get taken to the best sports merchandise website on all of the interweb.
Ring Central features all-in-one phone, messaging, and video conferencing. It's easy to use with unparalleled security. Ring Central simplifies things so you can grow. Call Ring Central to speak with a representative about a price for your growing business at 877-779-3860. Again, that's 877-779-3860.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite Patriot, Chris America, and I want you to listen every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and on replays from 11 a.m. to noon of Scout Team Sports. Listen, George Washington did not cross over the ocean blue in 1492 to defeat the Nazis, so you can listen to the same tired national clickbait sports stories. So once again, tune in to us every single morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then we replay from 11 to noon. I will see you there, and God bless America.
Yeah, welcome back. You are listening to Scout Team After Dark. We were bringing it to you hot and live like we do each and every Wednesday night, 7:30 to 9 o'clock, and that is Eastern Standard Time for all of those listening in Canada and listening in Europe and listening in Australia. You have different time zones. You have different times. I have no idea what times you're listening, but listen right now because we're bringing it back. We're coming back from a great commercial break. We had an awesome interview on the first half of the show, and we're going to bring it to you. We're going to finish strong with some great stuff coming up here on the next 30 minutes of live Scout Team that you have coming at you. Well, Chris
Hey,
America.
Loudbeard,
Yes, sir.
I need your help deciding something, and it's very important.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm good at decision making.
You've been burned by somebody before, correct? Where you thought they were one thing, but they ended up being something else, and you were disappointed, you were let down, right?
Yeah, that's happened. I think it's happened to all of us.
And then that person disappears for a while, and then they come back, and they want to come back into your life, and they show you something that you think is worthwhile, but you're still hesitant because they burned you before, right? Have you kind of been there before?
Yeah.
I'm feeling this way about a certain someone right now, Loudbeard, and I need your help deciding if I should invest my time and effort into them.
Okay. Give me some more details.
Yeah, that person is none other than M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay.
We had a good thing going at the beginning of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We had some great times, some great thrills, twists and turns that I loved. And then he got stale on me, man. He let me down. He came out with some really bad movies, and I swore him off for good, probably after Lady in the Water. And now he's
For good
back.
reason.
Or no, actually, it wasn't Lady in the Water that did me in. It was the Avatar movie. That pissed me off.
Yeah, that didn't
because
come out well.
I love the Avatar animated series.
Mhm.
It was a fantastic, one of the best animated series of all time. If you haven't watched it, watch the Avatar. Me and my son are watching it again. It's fantastic. And M. Night Shyamalan ruined it, and I was done. I was like, you've broken my heart one too many times, M. Night Shyamalan. You ruined something I loved. You tore it apart right in front of me, and you pissed on it, basically. But now he's back with this movie, Glass. And I'm very, very, very interested in seeing it. But because it's by M. Night Shyamalan, I'm hesitant, Loudbeard. What is your thoughts on this movie, Glass?
Okay, I have a couple questions
Yes.
for you before I dive deep into this subject. Number one, first question, did you watch Unbreakable?
I did not see that one.
Okay.
Actually, I did see that one. It came out when I was in high school. I rented it, but me and my girlfriend made out the whole time during it.
Or boyfriend, whatever it was. Okay, that's a good. Okay, so
Well, their name was Mo, so I'll let you figure that one out.
Mary Mo. The second question I have: did you see the movie Split?
Mm-mm.
You have not seen Split. Okay, so
So of his movies that I've seen Sixth Sense, I've seen The Village.
but none of those matter because Split and Unbreakable are like prequels to this movie.
Is that what this is?
Yes.
So now I need to go see these other two movies?
Right. So
Oh, then I'm out.
Unbreakable.
I don't have that kind of time.
You don't have to. I'm sure it can stand alone. But Unbreakable is kind of the story of Bruce Willis's character, and then Split.
Wait, I thought Unbreakable was Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Well, it was both really because in Unbreakable, the good guy was Bruce Willis, the bad guy was Samuel L. Jackson. Now, in the movie Split, the only guy that's in that whole movie is that James McAvoy character, which is the guy with multiple personalities. And now all three of them are back together in this movie.
Is this a good series?
I liked it. I'm gonna say proceed with caution. I'm big on like comic book style movies.
Right, as am I.
And it is like it's cool because it's like a realistic version of what a hero could be. They try to make it out like, okay, this is real. Like, I really like Split. I enjoyed watching Split. I thought it was a great movie. Some critics thought it was a little bit of a mess. A lot of critics always think that of M. Night Shyamalan movies, that they think it's a mess. I like Split a lot. Unbreakable I haven't seen in several years, but I remember watching it, and it was a cool storyline. And I've heard and I've watched the reviews or read the reviews for this new movie that the acting is superb, that Samuel L. Jackson does an amazing job, and that Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis. He's going to be okay, but James McAvoy does an exceptional job. So you're going to get great performances out of it. I heard the story is good, but not great. But for me, I'd love to see it. I want to go see it, so I think you should also.
All right, so I think I'm going to have to get with Netflix or somebody and see these other movies.
Yeah.
And then go see Glass.
Yes.
So you're telling me I should get back into a movie-watching relationship with M. Night Shyamalan just for this one?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think you need to do it. And we've talked about it before, the theory of expectation and
Right.
how relative it is.
I will go in with low expectations.
Please do so, because I think it'll be enjoyable that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't say that it's a bad idea to do that. I like it. I like where you're going with this. The Village. Did you like The Village?
I did like The Village. A lot of people hated The Village. I didn't think it was great, but I liked the twist at the end. A lot of people say like, "Oh, I totally saw that coming," and I'm like, "You did not see that coming. Come on, there is no way of knowing that this village took place in whatever year that movie came out. Like what, 2002, 2003,
I
somewhere
remember
around
going
there?
to see it in the theater, and I'm typically one of those people that likes everything, and I left there feeling a little.
I think that
empty.
was one of those expectation movies where people were expecting something and it wasn't that.
Now I liked Signs.
Signs was great. And I think
great.
I think that's also what hurt The Village, because The Village wasn't anywhere near as good as Signs.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think The Village came out after Signs in the chronological order of his movies.
Right, because I think he had Sixth Sense, and then Signs was.
Well, Unbreakable was in there too. I don't
Right.
know if it came out around the same time that Sixth Sense did. And then The Village, or sorry, Signs came out, and that movie was fantastic. The only thing I hated about that movie is that you have an alien population that can't be touched by water trying to take over a planet that's 75% of water.
Yeah, and that's one of those things you think about afterwards.
Yeah.
During the movie,
You're like, oh,
yeah,
that swing for the fences. Oh, now it makes sense why she said that when she got in that car accident.
yeah. Lady in the Water wasn't that good.
That was our first introduction to Joaquin Phoenix, was it not? Was Signs? I think that was my first introduction to Joaquin Phoenix.
I feel like he's been around in other things, but that was one of his earliest.
Yeah.
I can't remember what else he would have been in before that, but it
He
seemed
might have
kinda
been like
early.
one of those like side characters in a Quentin Tarantino movie that you go back and you watch and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know Joaquin Phoenix was in this movie.
It's
Vince
true.
Vaughn was that way. If you watch a lot of old comedies, Vince Vaughn just pops up and you're like, I had no idea Vince Vaughn was in this movie.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn was around. He was everywhere, and
You never noticed him when you first watched the movies. Like when Vince Vaughn first hit the scene, you're like, oh, this is a new guy. But when you watch all of the older comedies, and I can't think of them now, but I just remember there's been several times where I'm watching movies and you're like, is that Vince Vaughn? Yeah, that is Vince Vaughn. And he's on for like 5 minutes.
a lot of comedians start that way, though.
They do.
You do your stand up, and then you get like little bit roles,
Like-
and then you hope for your break. And when you get your break and you become big, everybody's like, "Hey, it came out of nowhere," and he's like, "I've been in 20 movies. I've
Yeah.
just been in there for 10 minutes." or
So
whatever."
one that I can point out for sure is Jim Gaffigan in Super Troopers. He's the guy they pull over when they do the meow game.
Yes.
I didn't realize that was Jim Gaffigan when I first saw the movie. And then when Jim Gaffigan hit big, I didn't say that's the guy from Super Troopers. It wasn't until after Jim Gaffigan made it again, and then I just randomly decided to watch Super Troopers again, that I'm like, holy cow, that's Jim Gaffigan.
Now, did you see the sequel of Super Troopers?
So you want to hear the story about the sequel to Super Troopers?
Sure, I'd love to.
I rented the movie Super Troopers, and Jen and I were going to watch it. It was one of our nights without the kids. And I started to watch it, and then I go, wait, have you seen the first one? I assume she watched the first one. So she's like, no, I haven't seen it. So we redboxed the second one. So I was like, well, we got to watch the first one first. So we watched the first one, and then it got kind of late. We're like, okay, well, we won't watch it. And then we just never got around to watching Super Troopers, and I never got around to returning Super Troopers. So I ended up just buying Super Troopers 2 because I kept it too long.
What do they charge you, like 20 or
Something like, I
25
don't
or
know,
something?
but
yeah.
So now I own Super Troopers 2, and I still haven't seen it.
I was pleasantly surprised. I go into sequels with very low expectations.
Especially comedies like that.
Yeah, especially comedies like that, like Anchorman sequel.
Eh.
There's a lot of them like that. Anytime they try to reinvent the wheel, especially when they wait so long. I guess the Anchorman example, the original Anchorman was 2004, and then they came out with a sequel just a couple years ago. When you're waiting 10, 12 years in between movies,
Right.
you lose something. And I think that was what could have been lost with Super Troopers. But those guys, to me, that group, they're just so funny. Everything that they do just seems like it hits. Now, if you've ever seen the old Club Dread, a lot of people didn't like that movie. I thought it was funny. I liked it. The beer movie?
Yeah, Beer Movie was good.
Yeah. Why am I? It's beer something.
I thought it was just called Beer Movie.
No, it's not called beer movie.
Beer. Oh, was it Oktoberfest or Beer Fest?
Beer Fest. That's it.
Yeah.
Beer Fest. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
We should make a movie called Not Another Beer Movie.
That would be a good one. But Beer Fest was fun, and the Dukes of Hazzard remake was
Never saw it. Was it good?
I liked it, but it was directed by Jay Shanzakar, who was one of the director and the main guy there in the Super Trooper group. But and the other thing about the Dukes of Hazzard, it has all the characters from Super Troopers. But it's not like the Super Trooper characters, but it's like all the same
Right, all the actors.
They bring in the whole group.
So they're side characters because it was
Yes.
it wasn't the main
Sean
characters.
William Scott
Sean
and
William Scott,
Johnny Knoxville.
Johnny Knoxville, and
Daisy Duke.
Jessica Simpson.
Yep.
Were you big into Jessica Simpson? Like, were you like, oh, she's the hottest thing, or were you like,
No, I mean she was hot. I didn't
Brit-
think I didn't put her on like a pedestal or anything.
Brittany or
but,
Jessica?
Yeah, probably Brittany.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jessica Simpson in this movie is probably the best Jessica Simpson you will ever find.
All right, now I'm gonna have to just watch. Can I just? I'm sure there's like a YouTube video where it's just the Jessica Simpson scenes.
I thought it was a fun movie. Everybody's gonna probably hate me on this. They're gonna be like,
I got
"You
a lot
have
of
no taste."
I
in
got a lot of
movies."
movies I need to watch. I have that one. I need to see Spider-Man: Homecoming because the new Spider-Man Far Away From Home trailer dropped. That looked really good.
I haven't seen the trailer yet. I'm gonna have to check that out after the show.
Yeah, it's really good. You should definitely see it. Although I'm not sure who the bad guy is. Is it Waterman or Aquaman? I think it looked like
I don't
it.
think it's Aquaman.
Well, not Aquaman. Yeah. Well, who's the water bad guy?
Hydro. I think.
Hydro. Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They should make it Aquaman.
They should make it
Spider-Man versus Aquaman.
All right, Chris America, we went on a little rant there. With
Yeah, I just needed some
movies.
personal advice, and I
You
appreciate
do.
you helping me out with that.
I love giving movie advice.
I need relationship advice from time to time, and I feel a little bit better now about my relationship with M. Night Shyamalan.
Can I give you some career advice?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right, so there has been an opening for a position that I think that you would be well qualified for, and it would be the dream position for you.
Ice cream taster.
It is not an ice cream
Damn it.
taster. I don't know if you heard this or not, Chris America. This might sadden you a little bit, but the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders,
Oh,
after 20 years,
yes.
Rod Peterson,
Oh,
he
man.
resigns from his position and he's calling it quits. I think you would be the perfect voice of the
I think-
Saskatchewan
I think I would.
Roughriders.
I think I should move up to Canada and go to Regina. Regina can't grow up, Loudbeard. You're so immature. Oh, where's you going for it? You're going for it?
No, I'm not.
Regina.
Oh, you know what? I told you I had a clip. I think we're gonna.
All right, let's play the clip.
All right, so this is all over the internet right now. The internet is buzzing because of this commercial.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get?
Chris America, is this the best that you can get?
Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
That's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
So, have you heard the buzz on this commercial?
Yeah, so the first time I saw this was this morning. I saw a tweet of a guy that had a picture of his Gillette razor in the toilet, and he said, "This is what I think of the Gillette ad. I'm Schick for life." And I was like, "Okay, this is weird. Like,
Like,
well, what happened with Gillette?" So then I had to search it, and then I watched this ad, and well, first I scrolled through all of the tweets of people for it, against it, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? Now, normally this happens from time to time where a company like Gillette, we've seen it with Mountain Dew, we've seen it with other companies where they'll drop something that they want to be funny, and they kind of cross the line, right?
Right.
And so then we get upset, and then they apologize, they take the commercial down. So I thought that's what I was going to see. And then I watched this commercial or this ad, and I'm sitting here thinking, who is upset by this? What am I missing here? Like, what part of this commercial telling you as a person, as a man, to be a good father, to be a good role model to your kids, to tell your kids not to bully, to tell your kids not to, treat women with disrespect. Like, this is what we should be teaching with or without a Gillette I was astounded that this was what I was waiting for something like edgy or something racist or something where it's like kind of vulgar, and it was this, and I'm like, you're throwing your razor in a toilet because they told you to be a good guy? What am I missing here, Loudbeard?
Honestly, Chris America, I have no idea. I listened to it, I watched it, I saw the video, and I thought to myself, wow, the internet is buzzing because of this?
Yeah.
Like, it's just telling us to be a man.
Be a good guy.
Be a
good man.
Good guy.
Be a good role model to your son. Realize that your son or daughter, really, I mean, you have 3 daughters.
Yep.
You are charged with the role of showing her or showing them what a good man is supposed to look like. So when they grow older, you hope that you've embodied a good enough role model of a man that they'll try to look for that in a husband.
Who are you to tell me that I need to be a man?
I saw that. Like, one person was like, I don't need a razor company lecturing me. And I'm like, who watches this and thinks they're being lectured? I don't understand, Loudbeard.
You think the people at Gillette are probably like scratching their head like, really? Like,
this was not the reaction we were expecting. But
we did not think this was going to be a bad thing.
This is why we can't have nice things, Loudbeard.
No. As a society, we've basically fucked ourselves.
I got to wonder if it's just social media, man. Like, if this would have been that big of a deal, without us having a stupid voice, allowing us to air our stupid opinions. And that makes me included. I air stupid opinions on Twitter all the time. I air stupid opinions on Facebook all the time. I can admit that to myself. Sometimes I don't need it. That's why I kind of try to scale back.
Yeah, sometimes the voice just needs to be silenced. There's no need. Like, this commercial should not have created this buzz that it has. I just don't understand where it's coming from. Why are people upset? I mean, they're looking at it, and they're looking at the landscape, and they're thinking, how many Hollywood types have been accused of sexual assault? They're like thinking, okay, we're going down the wrong path. Let's just do a little quick message, because the best a man can get has been the Gillette motto forever.
Right.
So let's do a commercial about being a better man.
And I don't know who is this person that's upset by this, because without going down the rabbit hole of conservatives or liberals or everything, like, I grew up in a church. I've been to a church rally that's called Promise Keepers. It's for men. And everything they talked about in this commercial is what they pressed. Be good to your wife. Be a good husband. Be a good father. Open the door for women. Be a gentleman. Be respectful. Like, that's the way I was raised. Be a gentleman. Don't whistle at ladies when they walk by. Don't grab their ass unless they want you to. Hold the door open. Buy their dinner. Mind your P's and Q's. Don't do anything that's non-consensual. Don't fight other people just to fight. Like, it was pressed on me hard as a little boy to be a gentleman, to be a respectable male, to have
Who are you
yourself.
to tell me to be a gentleman?
Get out of my life, Gillette.
I don't want to be a man.
I don't need no razor company lecturing me.
I'm going to shoot you.
I do what I want.
Whatever.
I do what I want.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know who watches this message and says, this angers me.
I'm glad I put that little soundbite on there for
I'm
you.
glad you did too, because I wasn't sure if you wanted to go down that road or not.
I love a good rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I shoot it because I'm a man, and Gillette doesn't tell me I'm a man. I'm already
40.
Man. I'm born a man. I was a man as a baby. I was a baby man.
What I was really hoping to see is like guys with beards being like, I'm not using Gillette again. I'm like, you have a beard.
Yeah, I don't use Gillette.
I haven't used Gillette in forever because I'm offended by spending $35 on 4 razors. That's what I'm offended by.
That is offensive.
And that's why I'm part of one of the shave clubs that you can get online. I suggest you do the same, gentlemen who don't have a beard.
That's a good idea.
You don't have to worry about this because...
No. I just trim like that, the neckline
right,
a little bit.
But you don't need a razor for that, do you?
No, I'm good. Pretty good.
Clippers.
Yeah. So I was just looking through Twitter to see some of the buzz about this Gillette commercial, and I came across some interesting information that I need to share.
I see that too.
So Steve Carell is doing a Netflix show.
Yeah.
He's getting paid $1 million per show, and that must be nice.
That must be nice.
Yeah, that must be nice. But it's about Space Force.
Oh,
I feel like
Space
if
Force.
Randy Quaid was here right now, he would be loving himself some Steve Carell comedy about Space Force.
We might have to have him call in next Wednesday.
Oh, definitely. I miss Randy Quaid. He's one of my favorites.
I'll get with him. I'll see if he can call in about this new show. See if he's going to be involved. Because I feel like he's at least got to be a writer because he has inside information on what it's like to be a part of a Space Force. He saved us from the aliens, you know.
He did. He did. He was one of my favorite actors on Independence Day.
He was, if not the favorite.
Yeah.
Or were you more of a Jeff Goldblum kind of guy?
I'm thinking back, and I do like Will Smith. I think Jeff Goldblum has to be third in that movie, but overall, I am still very high on Jeff Goldblum. He was in Jurassic Park.
Oh, Jurassic Park. He was in The Fly.
The Fly was great. He was also the Grandmaster Wizard in
he was so
Thor
good
Ragnarok.
in Thor Ragnarok.
He was. He hit it. He nailed it.
And you know what? There's never a moment in a movie where Jeff Goldblum shows up and you're like, damn it, Jeff Goldblum's. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum's in this movie?
I need to see more Jeff
I'm
Goldblum
ready
movies.
to rock.
Bring it, Jeff Goldblum.
God, I love me some Jeff Goldblum.
I don't know why he's so fantastic.
And he just plays himself. He plays the same guy every single time.
Yeah, he's not very dynamic.
But he kills it.
Yeah. I would say that same about like a Christopher Walken.
Oh, I love me some Christopher Walken.
Yep, he's also
very
good.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
When I was in college,
Yeah.
I made a T-shirt that said "needs more cowbell," and it was just like a plain white T-shirt, and it had the cheap Walmart letters that you iron on.
You love
it.
making shirts,
Yeah,
don't
I
you?
do. I had a good time, and I swear, out of any shirt I've ever worn in my life, I got more compliments on that shirt
Oh, of course.
than any other shirt.
You probably needed a stick to beat all the women off.
Oh, yeah.
They were just flocking to you.
All over the place.
I'll be your cowbell.
Oh, yeah. I'll
You
shake
can
you.
ring my bell. Ring my bell.
Okay.
I should be a better singer than I am for the amount of singing I do on this show. But I don't care.
No, I know that I'm a terrible singer.
I rock me some karaoke, man.
Hey, look, right now, your boy Kyrie Irving is on the screen. He's having a good game. 10 points, 5 assists, 4 for 7 shooting. But
Up 43-40.
against a tough Toronto team
Yeah.
right now. Wow.
44-40.
The Magic were down last time I checked, too. Going into the fourth quarter, they were down to the Pistons. Man, our NBA
They're in the fourth
team
quarter
sucks.
already?
Yeah, quick.
That's
right?
a fast game, man. If it
Super
started at
fast
7.
game. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe the Magic are just playing speedball.
Speedball. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up the scores. NBA. It's loading.
Loading.
I don't know
Loading.
how we ever survived on dial-up. Because if a page takes longer than 5 seconds to load, I start getting pissed
You're
off.
like, refresh. What are you
What
doing?
are you doing? What's wrong with my service?
It's terrible. Now, Cousins, we talked about on the morning show, DeMarcus Cousins will be back in action Friday night for the Golden State Warriors. Man, when the Golden State Warriors, they want to turn it on, that team is lights out. Scary what to think they are going to do with DeMarcus Cousins. Kind of worried. A little bit worried about what's going to be happening out there. LeBron, he's cleared for practice next week.
LeBron James.
He does not have a definitive date of when he will be returning, but he will be back in practice next week. So you will see good old LeBron James back with the Lakers.
So we're down 97-89 with 8:47 to go in the fourth.
Against a terrible Detroit team.
We can beat the Houston Rockets and the Boston Celtics, but we can't take on the Detroit Pistons.
You know, our problem has been drafting. I was listening to Stan Van Gundy on one of the local radio shows earlier this week, and he was talking about how Mo Bamba has had a disappointing rookie season. And I'm thinking, that's just another rookie that we bring in, and you see all these other rookies doing well, and our rookie for Orlando is doing awful. And it's just frustrating because when are we going to be able to learn how to draft? I mean, we have a history of making good draft picks. Dwight Howard, Penny Hardaway, Shaq. But other than that,
Courtney Lee.
outside of that, it's been rough. It's been real rough.
JJ Redick.
Now, JJ Redick was a good draft pick. He had a good career with us and had a good career after us. But I don't know, man. It's disappointing. Jonathan Isaac was disappointing. Mo Bamba's been disappointing.
Aaron Gordon's been disappointing.
Aaron Gordon's been disappointing. He's been good enough to think that he's going to take that next step.
Aaron Gordon is a number 25 pick, not a number 3 overall.
Yeah.
If we got Aaron Gordon at number 25, you're like, solid pick. He's living up to that number 25 pick.
Even at 10 or 12, he would be probably okay right now.
Right.
But I think we got him at 4th overall, and he's just not.
Like, do you think the Bulls got more out of Joakim Noah than the Magic have gotten out of Aaron Gordon?
I'd have to say yes, honestly.
And they got Joakim Noah at number 10.
Yeah, and Joakim Noah had some solid years with the Bulls. Now, when he fell off the cliff, he was gone. Like, he had nothing left. Yeah. But
he went to that abyss known as the New York Knicks.
It's sad.
But yeah, I think the biggest problem with the Magic too is every single time they draft a player, whether it's Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac, or Mo Bamba, the analysts say the same thing. This is a raw athletic talent. He's gonna take some time to develop, but he's gonna grow into a great player. And they've all been right. They've all been raw athletic talent. Just none of them are growing into the great players.
Nope. It's awful. And they're big men that we're drafting, and we have Vucevic, who is a big man, and we need point guard help, and we weren't drafting that point guard.
Yeah, the whole NBA is going small ball. The Magic are still drafting big guys like it's 1988.
It's I have not have
You're
words.
at a loss for words.
Yep. I have one last story that I'm going to share with you, Chris America. We got just a couple minutes left, and we'll get off the air here. So it looks like Travis Scott is going to be on the halftime show. And a lot of celebrities have kind of declined. A lot of the singers have declined because they don't like the NFL. They're standing with Colin Kaepernick. Well, Travis Scott comes out, and I don't know if it was him or the stories that came out said that him and Colin Kaepernick had met, and they were cool with Travis Scott going, and there was like a mutual agreement. Well, that seems to not be the truth, my friend, because Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend, Nessa Diab, she says, and she tweeted this out on Twitter, she says, there is no mutual respect and there is no understanding for anyone working against Kaepernick 7. Period. The end. Hashtag stop lying. Now, are we getting to the point now where we have to say like we're like totally boycotting the NFL? If these performers being on the halftime at the Super Bowl is probably a highlight of a career,
right?
And we're gonna throw shade on them. Like I get that there's a lot of deep-seated frustration on all parts here, but I mean the halftime show.
Yeah, I don't know where do
you cross the line?
Where
do
I
the
go
line?
with this? Because it's like at one point, like I gotta live my life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And me performing or not performing at the NFL Super Bowl halftime show is going to make no difference to Colin Kaepernick's cause. You're suing the league. Do your thing over there, player. We support you suing the league if you've been wronged in any way. And what I'm doing really has nothing to do with police brutality either.
Right.
If anything, maybe I should get on stage and wear a Kaepernick shirt or do something that shows that I support you on the stage. I don't know, man. It's just it kind of goes where it's like, hey, you can't do this or it means you're this. It's like, no, it really doesn't.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
It's like, oh, if you watch the NFL, then you hate the military. No, it really doesn't. Oh, if you watch the NFL, you think that it's okay for them to blackball Colin Kaepernick. No, I just want to be entertained. I just want to watch the NFL.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a sticky conversation to get into that I don't know what the right answer is to, but I'll say this. I say this about Kyler Murray making a decision and Travis Barker do what's best for you.
Travis Scott.
Or Travis Scott. I
Not
did
the
say
guy from
Travis Park.
Blink-182.
Oh, Blink-182 should do that.
30 seconds left. We're going to finish the show off in style. It was a great show. Thank you, Chris America. Thank you, listeners. We really enjoyed it. We're glad everybody listened in tonight, and we had a great interview, and everybody have a good night.
Oprah solid to Tim Tebow for making another appearance on the show.
Yeah, Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow references.
Always in our hearts, my friend. Always in our hearts.
Number 15 in your program. Number 1 in your heart.